Welcome on this first open class and the group call on the Mission Coagula program. The motto of this program is From Inner Truth to Living a Life of Mission. And today, what I actually want to talk about is, do I even have a mission? And I think it's like the biggest question that we have to answer before even emerging into this experience. A bit about myself, and I know that with most of you, I already been working as a therapist before, but just little bits of who I am is my name is Alisa Rabota Amblo. I'm Jungian therapist and self-actualization coach, and basically I'm specializing in working with high potential individuals who's experiencing or going through midlife crises. And I'm guiding the individuation process among millennials and early Gen Zs. And I honestly believe that millennials are just starting, and it doesn't feel like this. It feels like we're already behind everybody, and all these younger Gen Zs, all this generation, they already know who they are and what they're supposed to do. And we're like looking at them thinking, what did wrong, in this story, why I don't know who I am and what I want to do when I grow up. Um, and this is how basically all this course started. Um, Funny enough, this particular program, the Mission Coagula, was born from another program. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, here. It was born from another program. Initially, it was called the Career Renaissance, and basically, it was created from the multitude of my own experiences when I started to work as a coach initially. I created this program because I believed that I'm not the only one who doesn't know who I want to be when I grow up. And this is a bit about my experience. But what I wanted to show here is my personal journey was not straight ahead to therapy. I actually started my career when I was 15 years old as a journalist, not in a school newspaper, but in a local newspaper. That was actually a big deal. And I have a proven track record of success in 5 really different professional areas, including journalism and sales and product marketing and wellness and coaching. And still, by my mid 30s, I had no idea who I want to be when I grow up. And I know I say this phrase quite often, but I think it really reflects um, how a lot of my peers and people I met, clients I met, how they feel about themselves, that they're like, they have in this adult life and they really made it in life. They have good jobs, they have good salaries and good career path, but it's not enough. There is a lack of understanding, like, where do I belong in all this experience, and why do I feel so miserable, unseen, and why do I envy people who actually decided to go after what they truly want. So when I decided to become a coach, and first it was journey through yoga, like I became a yoga specialist, and slowly growing my expertise in embodiment practices. And then my life really pivoted really drastically. I got pregnant, I got cancer, and I understood that like everything that made sense to me before really didn't anymore. And I had to find something else. And I went into coaching and therapy to look for my own snippets of truth. And this is how I found my calling. And oh, why it's and I created a program that was received with really a lot of positive feedback. And this is just like pieces of those feedbacks. My first clients were my own colleagues when they realized that I'm doing coaching, and I really shifted from like tech industry into something that I'm really passionate about. And I was so vocal about my journey, and I was so vocal about the sensation of a mission, the sensation of like being on this journey to discover who I am and what I actually want to do. So they just followed me into this. and I created a program and initially thought that this is about something which is career related, how to make a career that is growing from your interests, from your values, from your passions, and is truly aligned with what your interests in life. However, the results of my clients were very surprising. And the thing is, it was really different outcomes. For somebody, it was a break in a glass ceiling in a corporate. For example, one of my clients, she thought that she reached the top, that she was able to in her company that she really admired and she wanted to be part of it, but she couldn't feel that there is a place for growth for her. And in the midst of our journey, she actually received a C-level offer. And the most fantastic thing, it was already waiting for her. She had to just claim it. She had to just go there and say, like, I'm ready. That's the only thing that really needed to happen. For somebody, it was a journey of entrepreneurship when they started their own businesses and like tech startups and etc. Little shops and the things. When like I heard their projects, it was so sad for me that I'm not an investor, because I really wanted to be the part of this journey even further on. And I'm very proud of everything that they created. And of course, another thing is a passion projects, which is, for me, it's a bit of a different thing from entrepreneurship, because passion projects is not like directly connected with the money aspect, because I don't believe that it's the only representation of the value. For somebody, it was finding their calling in humanitarian missions, I don't know, zero waste projects, cultural projects, and so many more. So what I realized that the program I created, it was not about the career renaissance per se. It was not about like building the career path for yourself. It was something way deeper and something I really didn't expect to happen. And I realized that through my clients, what you do is a representation of who you are. However, in order to understand who you are, you need to understand your psyche. Psyche is like all the dynamic, evolving whole that contains the seeds of purpose and potential in individuation. This is basically everything that you represent. And when you actually know your psyche, the question, do I have a mission, is not even there, because a mission isn't a simply a career goal or a job, but a unique calling or purpose that it arises from the depth of you. When you know yourself inside out, or to the best of your abilities, of course, there is like endless resource to learn. But when you have a better understanding of what you consist of, the mission emerges, the purpose emerges, and the sensation to give something back to the world in different shapes or forms, it emerges to the surface. And to ask, do I have a mission? For me, it's like asking, do I have a psyche? It's like asking, do I have a content? Do I have a value as a person? And I would love to say that in this program, we're trying not to go through the ego purposes, like who I want to be recognized as, but to really address all the aspects of what we have inside, and to really go on a mission of finding the place for individuation. And my approach, the pillars of my work, allow this process to happen. First one is individuation, which is basically understanding of your psyche, understanding of all the archetypical images, of all the histories, of all the stoppers that you have inside of you, and embracing this material. I mean, we all consist of different elements, including the traumatic experiences, including, I don't know, history of the family, and etc., etc., etc. But it doesn't make us any worse, doesn't make us any better. It makes us who we are, this unique material to be explored. And this is what I believe in. And I work through the Jungian therapy, which I will say about a bit later on. The second aspect is self-actualization. And this is a different thing, because self-actualization is like basically understanding who you are and then bringing back to the world, kind of manifesting of what you want to do with who you are for the purpose of changing the world around you. And I know it sounds big, but this is truly something I believe in. I believe that when we truly act from the depth of our psyche, we change the things around us. Maybe in a subtle way, maybe not like becoming a president of the universe or the queen of space. I don't know. But for me, it was the small influences that I have even on my audience. And my audience is not like the subscribers on Instagram. My audience is people I talk to on a daily basis. It's my family. It's the extended family, the family of my boyfriend, for example, the families of my clients who also receive this a second wave, after the person is truly embracing who he or she is, and everything comes after. So self-actualization is manifesting who you are into the world. And the third way is the action, of course. It's a big pillar of my work because I don't believe that having this imaginary world in your head is enough. I think millennials specifically, we're so good in this, imagining things, living in our own alternate reality, where we already experienced everything and we already reached everything and doing everything from the comfort of our couch. This is like something I was struggling with for a very long time. And we call it laziness. We call it in many different ways. But the fact is, we really don't know which direction to take. We really don't know how to stop spinning this moment. Because to be frank, from my own journey and from what I observed within my clients, when you really understand who you are and what you want to do, you cannot stop yourself from working. And this is the funny aspect. Then there is a different problem arises, like, if I may, that how to stop yourself, how to do all of these things and still kind of maintain a healthy balance and not like dissolving completely in your mission work. Funny enough, I thought I'm one of the laziest people I know. I thought I'm a complete couch potato and I knew Netflix inside out before I really realized what I want to do with my time. And then suddenly the reality changed. Not suddenly, of course, it was more subtle process. It's a metaphor in a way, but the reality changes and somehow you don't have enough time for your mission and you start to regret that you didn't start it earlier, but it's not possible. You can come to this realization only in a certain given point of your life where you went through this crisis period, when you were questioning yourself, who you are, what you want to do. And when you understood that the previous scenarios and ways of doing things and working and the ordinary career path is not working for you, that you don't feel complete. And only then this action really, again, it emerges from within you and energy comes with it. My methodology is like what you will experience during this program. In particular, it's Jungian therapy, which is, let's call it like a luxury therapy in a way, because it goes way beyond like, I want it not just to hurt, which is a normal request for the therapy session, right? Like people are coming to the therapy because they're suffering through some sort of experiences and they want it to stop. So it's very basic need in a way. When we're talking about the Jungian therapy, it's rather different because people who come into the Jungian therapy, it's mostly about self-exploration on such a deep level that is not accessible on a normal daily basis. We don't ask our questions like that, just going through the life. So for the following 15 weeks, I would say that it will be a journey when a lot of questions that you have, they will just stand in front of your eyes and you will not be able to unsee them. And this is what coaching, what's Jungian therapy does. It makes you go deeper within yourself and ask these questions that probably never been asked. The family constellation approach is one of the most functional and most helpful ones when we're talking about the mental blocks, about some insecurities and traumatic experiences. We'll be working with imposter syndrome and envy to others and all these kind of things that can prevent us from actually taking an action. And we will see how we communicate with authority figures and etc. So there are things over there in a family constellation that allow us not just to see the painful experiences that made us the way that we are, but also release from them, to have finally a pardon from that part of your journey, and basically start to be observant in these moments of instability and bringing your adult self forward, taking responsibility for your life and being able to see this constellation in a real life and choosing the position you want to be. It's very powerful experience and very liberating experience. And it's not only about the career journey per se or the mission journey. It's about your relationship with everybody evolving around your life. And I'm very happy to bring this forward into this program as well. Of course, the business coaching, because this is how I started basically. And this is something I truly believe in. Business coaching is basically the ability to ask all the right questions and to receive answers, not that you want to hear, but the answers that really are there. There is a very big difference between receiving a good advice and having an insight. It's like literally an inner sight, something that you found inside of yourself. And this is the only way how to receive a true answer that will align with what you want to do. That is not going into contradiction with how you feel. Now, so business coaching is allowing us to take a task, slice it in a digestible pieces, and to really go after the things you want, not staying just in a metaphorical space where we know everything about ourselves. And this is such a great, there is a car cleaning the trash, which is such a great moment. I hope you hear it. So yeah, business coaching is a great approach that really changed my life. And I just was not sure that it's deep enough. And that's why I went into therapy education and into psychology, because I knew that it's like just one of the elements. But I will never regret having this education in my life, because it's really made me not just aware of myself, but also quite successful in what I'm doing. And definitely embodiment practices from the roots of my yoga teacher journey. I always make it part of the deal. It's basically the heightened awareness of your body and living through your body. It's absolutely crucial when we're talking about these kind of things, like looking for your real self, collecting the pieces of your psyche and introducing it to the world. I think going through this experience, through your body, through your thick and present into the world, it's absolutely necessary. So I will be adding some guidance, the breathing exercises, and I always bring this as a part of every therapy session. And right now I wanted to tell you a bit more into detail what is exactly waiting for you. As you know, the program consists of both the group calls and the theory, let's call it this way, and then the individual sessions with each one of you. We'll have a separate call where we will go through this particular moments. And over here, I wanted to highlight what exactly we will be talking about and why it's important. So the first session is collecting your first gold. We will be talking about your natural talents, inclinations, and strengths that you were born with, which were there from the beginning of times, and that were part of your individuality from the heads on. Like you always knew that you have it. You just forgot a lot of these things. And it's such a lovely moment when these things start to emerge. And a lot of my clients are starting to like, for example, paint or dance or do something that they used to enjoy when they were kids. But it's not about like coming back to your passions, because things shift. We stop liking things for a reason as well. And we need to understand why we stop liking them, why we stop enjoying do what we do and when. And this is the second session is a social integration and family separation process analysis. It's a lot about how you represent yourself in society, if you have any insecurities. For example, if you feel adult enough when talking to other people in the room, because no matter how old we are, we all can have this experience when we feel that we are not adult enough. It's very interesting and quite manifesting often in my client meetings, because I think a lot of people are not going through a proper family separation by the age of their, like, sometimes never. Sometimes we're still connected to this family system. And it's not about like saying goodbye to your father and mother or living with your parents. It's way more subtle. It's like how dependent you are on your family system, and through the constellation process, we will see where exactly there is an issue, if there is any issue, and try to find how to solve it. The next session, the third one, is the pivot. It's basically the moment when you stop doing what you love. And it's very, very important, because at some moment in your life, you were this nature, you were this kid who was like following only his or hers interests. And at some point, it stops because the society puts you in some sort of a shell, a box, where you have to finally decide what you want to do in your life, which is interesting, asking this question to a teenager at best, maybe sometimes even a kid. And over here, we find this moment in time when you stop being who you are and start being what you expected to be. And I think it's very important to claim it back. It's not about like changing the narrative or anything. It's more about claiming this moment and realizing that this is what happened, and this is where like the split began, between what you the journey that you wanted to take and the journey that you actually took. Because from my experience, most of the career path is rather random, like, yeah, there are some people who come in to work with me and they suddenly realize that what they were doing in their life, what they actually wanted to do, is not what they wanted to do. But for majority of people, like after like removing this first layer, we understand that their entire career was a number of random occasions. They were accepted to this job and they decided to go, and then it linked to a couple of years of experience in the area, and then you cannot change the job because you already have the experience in this area. And then it takes a lot of courage and a lot of pay downgrade to change the direction of your career. Like I did it a couple of times in my life, and it was like I went from top management basically to basic skill building if I wanted to change the career. And I did it a couple of times, and I don't regret this, but it was definitely an uncomfortable moment, which can be very painful and very frightening for a lot of people. Then we, on the next session, our fourth session, we discuss the personality backbone and understanding what it is actually holding the structure of your personality. It's like, let's call it the most important CV that you will ever do in your life, because we'll be going like after everything that you have within you, everything that your ego knows you are. Basically everything that our conscious is containing, all this information, we'll be kind of digging it out and putting it on a table in front of you, which is like one of the most pivotal, I believe, sessions within the first module, because a lot of my clients are saying that like they never did this properly, and the interesting part of it is the self-esteem, like foreseeing everything in front of you is like, it's such a boost for the self-esteem that it gives you power to actually move on. In the fifth session, we have a deep understanding of your personal value system and motivation drivers, because I believe like you really need to understand what is it in your value system when it gives you a compass of what you actually want to do in your life, because a lot of times we consider a value for a deficit. And these are two different things, because value is something innate. It's something that is like constructed from a lot of different aspects, including the cultural aspect, the family aspect, your personal beliefs. And this thing creates value. However, if the value, for example, is money, it's one thing. Yeah, you understand the materia of money, and you understand how it functions in the world, and you want to be you want to possess this thing called money in order to do something with it because you respect the concept, right? And there's a difference, because like you want money from your career just because you have a lack of it. And your previous job is not giving you sufficient amount, and this is like it start to be in the head of the list just because you're hungry, and the lack of something doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually valuable for you. And in this session, like we will go through the subconscious journey, and we will really understand what is in your value system and what is the crave to kind of fill in the deficit. Number 6 is our one-to-one session. It's addressing the shadow self, turning your dark traits into personal power. And I think it's one of the most important moments in it, because we have quite a lot of material in our shadow aspects. And a lot of the things that actually makes our personality stand out is also in the shadow aspect. It's also very important to integrate the shadow traits into our lives, because very, very often it's a huge resource for artistic exploration. And I think it's very necessary to free this moment and to be fully aware of what you have over there, what kind of material you have over there. And obviously the shadow is built up during the lifetime, right? Like all the choices we never made, it goes into our shadow. And the bigger the life journey, the longer it is, the bigger the shadow. And it's a concept that is truly interesting, because you can use the shadow aspect all your life, and you can source inspiration from it all your life. And every time you go there, you will find different, interesting new aspects of it. And what I wanted to say, like, in this particular moment, we will learn what the shadow is, how to address it, how to recognize it, and how to source inspiration from it. So I think it will be really liberating for a lot of clients here. In the module 2, which is the what, the big what, right? So here we will be working through mastermind and of course the one-to-one sessions. We will be basically facing this big project vision, like what do you actually want to do with what you just learned about yourself? And I honestly, every time before the session, I'm extremely nervous, because I feel that I have some sort of responsibility of what will happen during this session. And I'm very aware that this moment might not happen when the person during our session will say that I still don't know what I want to do. But that never happened. Throughout all my experiences, that never really happened. On this particular moment, my clients already know what they want to do. And the fun part is they knew it so much before the session that I really have no power over its session. And all the power is with my clients. I'm just there, like asking the right questions at the right time and holding the mirror so they can see themselves and their reflection. And I think this is truly a moment when this purpose, this idea of a mission is like blossoming. So we'll be building this project vision. And of course, in the next session, we'll be facing the fear of grant, because this is what happens. We'll talk about this extensively in a following group calls. But when we finally realize what we want to do with our life, of course, it just smacks you in the face. And what happens within the next week, we'll start to be absolutely terrified with this idea and its grandiosity. And it's totally fine. it's okay to be afraid of your mission, because you understand that for a lot of things you will have to start over. For a lot of things you will have to get extra education or extra, I don't know, experiences, and basically like abandon like all the comfort that you had before. Maybe not all of it, maybe you will be able to build upon it, but that's the moment when we will be realizing it. It's over here. And facing this fear of grant is very important, because otherwise you will basically have this big idea and do nothing with it. You will be just afraid of it and kind of like a freeze in this state. So this is like a very, very thin ice that we're walking on right here. But again, a majority of my clients, they walk through that with a lot of dignity, and they actually live through this experience with compassion and patience, and with like, if I can call it success, I will probably call it success, because they go for further and step over this fear. The fourth session is facing the biggest obstacle, because it's not always the same as the fear of grant. And the biggest obstacle can be really different for every individual, right? Like for one of my clients, like the biggest obstacle was to tell the plan to their parents. And that was so scary that my client was like just moving this idea further and further along in the corner of their mind, just not to talk to the parents and not to tell them that you basically will stop having this huge successful career and will go into completely different direction. For everybody, it's different. For somebody, it's like the fear of facing the boss and saying that they want a promotion. And, you know, it's very individual for everybody. It will be different. And of course, the facing the biggest obstacle for every one of you, it will be something that will emerge through our practice together. And the third module is the how. And this is where business coaching comes into play. And every session will be a one-to-one journey into your project building, like pulling together the project, creating the strategy, and of course, filling in the gaps, like doing the one step-by-step kind of plan for the project, filling in the calendar, and making this 1 year long plan for every step of the journey. So it's very important, because without this, we basically will not be able to fulfill this big idea that will emerge. And the last one, it's again a group call. It's a commitment ritual, which is sort of setting you free from the education journey, if I may call it this way, and set you free into the world, saying like, this responsibility is now on you, and you own your future. This is how it's going to happen. And this commitment ritual, it's for you as a client in this journey to take this responsibility and to become commitment, to make this commitment to your mission, make this commitment to your own future. And also something that is not written here, but in a 6 months time, you have a one-to-one session with me in order to kind of like correlate if you're moving in the right direction, if everything is according to expectations, if there is something not happening, why it's not happening, and how we can work on it. So I will be there even after the finish of the course, just to support you and make sure that you are aligned with your mission even after this program. Of course, I wanted to say a couple of things about the Deepen the Voice guided solo training. It will happen for 2 weeks during the Christmas time. It will be completely pre-recorded training done on the separate platform, and you will be receiving the tasks and bits and pieces of information. It will be a variation of meditation techniques. It will be fairy tales for the nighttime. It will be a lot of recommendation how to feed this the palette of images in your head, because what we're going to do here is basically widen the perspective for your psyche, right? It will teach you how to perceive the symbolics around you, how to really receive the messages from your inner self, and establish this metaphorical connection with your psyche, which is extremely important because everything which is straightforward, it's the voice of the ego and conscious. Everything which is metaphorical, which is sign related, which is a dream space, is like a messages from the subconscious and from the bigger part, which is extremely important to have this connection established. And this is what the deepen the voice will do when you will start hearing your voice, not from the top of your head, but hopefully from the very lower floors of your personality. What's going to happen during the program? This is a fun aspect because you might experience the change of preferences. This is something that basically this small list is based on the experiences of my clients from the previous jobs and from my therapeutic work. Change of preferences in a lot of ways. And I'm not only talking about like some interests, music or literature and etc. No, I'm talking about taste in food, taste in, I don't know, how you dress up, how you manifest yourself in the outer world. And sometimes it's really change of perfume even because your perception really, you really altered with all this information you receive from yourself. So it's very subtle, it's very interesting moment how you're, because it happens because you start to shed like an onion, layer by layer, all these things that were put on you by society, you will start to say like, this is not mine, this is not mine, this is not mine. So the preferences change because you finally let go of all the things that don't belong to your personality. Second things is the dreams. And I know that a lot of my clients who's coming into work with me don't have dreams for years or don't really remember them. But when we start working together, this material emerges. And I work in depth with dream material. And I think it's very important to have this connection established. And during our work, usually the dream spaces opens and the subconscious starts to deliver a lot of information through the dream material. So one part of your journey will be basically writing down dreams, of course, if you want to discuss it with me, but it's really, really important things that can come into you, and not only dreams in an idea of like processing the daily activity and storing the things into the long-term memory, but so-called big dreams, the dreams that like stay with you and you can see them returning for years, and they actually hold this archetypical information, archetypical images, and they might show up during our work together. Seeing signs, I know how it sounds. It's not voodoo, it's not magic or anything, but it's definitely numinous experience, right? Because seeing signs in a Jungian approach, it's called the synchronicity. It's basically when the outside reality is sending you confirmation of your inner sensations, right? You can, I don't know, you have this thought that like finally you realize something, it's a huge insight, and then you take the phone and it's, I don't know, 22:22 on your phone. And on a normal day, you will say like, oh, that's a funny coincidence. But when you start to see the science behind it, when you start to see it as a synchronicity, it can become a really powerful tool because the outer world will be in synchronicity with what world is emerging inside of you. And it will send you this snippets of confirmation from the outer world saying like you're on the right track, or kind of like you have to correlate where you're going. So it's very interesting. It's very thin material to work with, but if you will start to see signs, you cannot unsee them. Like it's all the symbolics of your life. And to be frank, I think what it does is not making you kind of neurotic about checking your phone like every time it shows the 22:22. But what it makes, it kind of expands your life and give this kind of metaphorical layer to what you do. It gives the sense of purpose and the sense of design, if I may, sense of divine present in your life. And I think what it does, it really deepens your conversation with yourself, and it's extremely important. deeper in-body experiences. That's definitely part of our journey, because in every session I will be communicating with your body as well, and sort of like bit by bit teach you how you can receive the signals from your body, how it can give you more information in a given time, because sometimes we call it intuition, but in fact it's the very deep rooted connection with our physical shape, with our physical body. Because sometimes we know that we're in the wrong place because we feel wrong in our body. We feel stiffness in our shoulders, we feel chill in our neck of our body, and etc. We just ignore these things because what we've been told that all the information is in our head, and we need to listen to our mind and our conclusions and our skepticism, and question everything, which is not a bad idea, but it's not enough. Sometimes everything seems very right on a picture, like on this level, but over here there is some disconnect, and this is what prevents us from doing things. Like, for example, a lot of people cannot move forward in their careers, and they think that there is something stopping them, but in fact it's their entire self stopping them, because this career is not, like, it's good on the paper, but it's not what they truly want. It's not truly aligned with the desires they have inside. So when we start listening to our body, it can become a really good compass for us to really understand if we are experiencing what we experience. Is this like a true idea coming from within us, or this is idea coming from the outside? And we can say, like, this is not mine, thank you, that's yours, and this is mine. So that's a very interesting thing that might happen during the program as well. After this call, what will happen now? Well, first of all, straight after the finish after this call, you will be receiving access to your personal workbook Bible. This will be your personal space where you will have all the information, where you will have all the tasks and everything. And what I suggest you to think of, it's your personal workbook. Like, if you want me to read the notes, you can let me know. If you want this to be your private space that I will not have access to, I mean, like, I will not read it. Like, you can just let me know that it's yours. But our sessions will be done there as well. I will use it as a backup material, as a space for our one-to-one calls. So it's very, very useful. It's done on the platform called Notion, and I will send you all the links and accesses during today, so you will be able to access it. Second one is access to the booking system. So you will be able to choose your own personal calls time, and basically book this session for entire 15 weeks if you prefer. Of course, there are some alternations that can happen. We can shift a couple of sessions, but if you choose the time, please try to stick to it, because it's very important that you have this one moment that you dedicate to this work with me. And of course, the access to Google Invites for all the group sessions as well. What I would also suggest you to do is to book a couple of hours a week for your personal process, like preferably after our call, for example. I know it's a great practice to book at least half an hour for just to have this moment of self-reflection, just to have a moment of like analyzing of what just happened, because a lot of sessions can come as a very deep experience that need to be unpacked, and you will have supporting questions and the AI coach that is yours personally in a workbook Bible that will help you to unpack this information, but still just do yourself create yourself this little moment after our call so you can process what just happened. And of course, the access to individual chat and the group chat. This is what will happen after this call. I think this is pretty much it. So what I actually wanted to do with this session is to welcome all of you into this journey. It will be quite amazing from a lot of perspectives. Like, I'm pretty sure you will finish this program with understanding of who you are that you did not possess before. That's something I can guarantee. I can guarantee that you will find a passion project, a vocation, a mission that truly aligns with what we will find during this program. And you will have an actionable steps that will lead you to manifesting this mission of yours into the real world. And coming back to the question that I asked at the very beginning, like, do I even have a mission? For me, yes. Every person has a mission, and we're coming here for a reason. It's just sometimes we don't ask ourselves enough questions, and we don't kind of investigate our own psyche enough. So we don't really know what this mission is. But this information is already there. It's just wait for us to be unpacking it, and we will here in this space, we'll do this together with a lot of respect to what you have inside, with a lot of gentle care and attention to nuances, because everybody's journey is so individual and so different. And I'm usually extremely proud and touched to the bottom of my heart when I see this process coming in and I see this blooming in a real life. And this is my way of changing the world around me. So this is in a true alignment with my mission, because I believe that people who know themselves, who are in contact with their vocation, who are truly acceptant of their mission and who choose their way and how to do things, they are truly satisfied with themselves. They are truly aligned with the world. They don't do harm. They don't start wars. They live with acceptance and sense of purpose and sense of like touching as many things around you and leaving your imprint. And I just try to pass this forward.